Right, good morning, everybody. So we're obviously live for London session. Um, some pretty wild movement. Um, yeah, overnight. Hey, good morning, guys. Those on the YouTube live. How are you all doing this morning? You good? I should play some background music um, while we all wait. I'm just setting everything up, to be fair. Um, so give me a second. I'm almost done. All right. Okay, so I think let's get to it. I wonder. I haven't yet checked the economic calendar, to be fair. So let's just have a look at what's going on fundamentally today. Um, just want to have a look here quick. Filters. Uh, okay, so not much. We've got the interest rate decision for the New Zealand dollar has already taken place. We then have crude oil inventories as well as FOMC meeting minutes, but that all happens later. So, yeah, nothing to kind of worry about for London session as well as New York, to be fair, given that the announcements or those fundamentals are quite late this evening. So I think we can head straight back to the chart, have a look at what we've got for the morning. Yeah, again, some very crazy movement going into early hours of this morning as well as the back end of yesterday. Obviously, naturally, I think that is the result of the whole situation with Trump and the war and all the rest, right? So I think if we are to go through analysis quickly, it's pretty straightforward in terms of looking at pound yen. We've got, starting on the daily, of course, we've got very strong bullish momentum. Okay, you can see that by the past 2 days or the past two daily candle closes, strong bullish. So naturally we are bullish, which then means that we'd be looking at any or continuation to the upside, trading in line with that momentum and the trend, of course. So with that, moving and having a look at how the daily candle of today is formed and opened, I'm not extremely happy with that, because if I have a look at the daily, it almost looks as if we could see price fall short to create the bottom side to the current candle. But again, given the current momentum that we have, that does not necessarily have to take place, right? So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. And then before we drop down to the lower time frames, you'll see that we've got quite a key area that sits over here, which we're now retesting, right? So is this where we see that potential higher time frame shift in terms of retest that most recent structural break to then carry, right? Moving to the 4 hour, well, there it is. We've got some beautiful rejection happening over here. You can see the 4 hour of the first 4 hour of the trading day today, with or sorry, yeah, with rejection to the upside. We then obviously have that doji with the next 4 hour and the current 4 hour candle again rejecting, and it looks to be bearish. Now, although if we do move to the daily quickly, although there is room for price to fall short from this area, we cannot just blindly sell, because again, that would be breaking the number one rule in trading against momentum. We cannot do that. So if I'm going to look at potential shorts, I will have to revisit this tomorrow. And why I say that is we then bring the process of visualization into it. And then this daily candle could potentially close with a nice wick to the upside, which is the first sign of upside rejection. And then, tomorrow's daily candle could open with the, price pushing up, possibly giving us another wick and rejection to then push engulf, and that is where we could see that shift take place. In terms of, so with that being said, like I have said, now I will not be looking at sols. In terms of potential buys, I think the only concern I do have at this point is buying into that wick region, which we can pretty much, we can refine it on lower time frames, but buying into that wick region, into that rejection zone, is a slight problem. It reduces the probability of a play substantially. So I think the only setup that really makes sense to me at the moment would be a retest of this region here. I'm going to go as far as refining to that level there, right? At call it 212. So that flat psychological level. Once we retest that, we can then look at buying back into equal highs, right? That might take place today, it might not. And the reason I say it might take place today is because if we go back to the daily, if price is going to revisit and retest this level to continue bullish, that means that we'll see price create some form of wick on the current daily candle, right, to the bottom, to the downside. So that is most definitely a potential play. Now, a lot of you might say, okay, but Tyron, hold on a minute here. We are missing out on money, because if we're going to retest this level and we are rejecting, well, can we not look at selling? And I mean, if you really wanted to, but I'm not going to, because that breaks my plan. Number one. Number two, again, like I've said many a time before, when we've got such strong momentum, right, price does not necessarily have to pull back into the most recent structural break. So price could react over here, and then it throws your risk reward off completely. And that is the problem with counter trend trading, right? Does that make sense? So effectively, looking at pound yen for the day today, there's one or two things that I'll be waiting on. It's either the retest of this level to then look at buys into equal highs, okay? And if not that, I will then wait on price to break above, retest to continue, okay, into this region over here. So that's very important. It's one of those two things that need to take place before I look at entertaining anything on GJ. If we drop down to the lower time frames, there you can see it again. That is the level we can refine based on the hourly, right? And that's as far as I will refine at this point. And there you'll see we've got a beautiful consolidation range. So now that brings my point in of, you see how or why we cannot be selling this retest, okay? So basically all we do need to do here is just create two alerts. All right, so I'll add an alert over there. If we cross below, I will then just let that expire at the end of today. If that alert triggers, I then know that I can start looking at potential buys. If not, well, we'll then create an alert or set an alert over here rather. And I know if price breaks that, we could potentially start looking at buys, continuation, the upside. But in between those two alerts is in a no trade range. and I will not be looking to trade within that price range. So yeah, I think we can move over to GU now. That is some wild stuff on pound dollar. Yeah, again, happening during Asia. It does not surprise me. Why does it happen during Asia? Because that is when, Trump made the announcement. I think he's announced a ceasefire or whatever the case is. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I haven't really checked in on the news this morning, but I just know that something has taken place for price to react the way it's reacted, and I am assuming it's because of Trump. Because that's obviously the only thing that's happened or could have happened overnight. Because I know last night was the deadline for his kind of civilization wipeout or whatever it was. But nonetheless, this is much like that of GJ. I will not be looking at selling because we've got extremely strong bullish momentum. So it does not make sense to try and sell against that or trade against the trend. So if anything, we need to look at potential buys for the trading day today. Now, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, when I see a market like this, I kind of stay far away, because we are dealing with an overextended market. If you are to, put or make use of your moving averages, you'll see how overextended we actually are. But again, I don't need a moving average on the chart to tell me that. So yeah, in a nutshell, we are extremely overextended, and the reason I like to stay away from these markets, or when the market is like this, is because it then raises the question of how much further can price and will price extend before we react and see a pullback. Now, again, you'll see prices trading at quite a pivotal point, which is within this wick region. That wick region is a resistance. So now, again, if we're buying here, we are going against everything that trading stands for in terms of buy low, sell high. This would be buying high, right? So yeah, and again, I'm not happy trading against momentum, so I will not even look to sell, even if price does react. It's just not within my, it doesn't form part of my risk appetite. So, and my probability element of the plan. So yeah, I think, there's not much more to discuss here really on GU, apart from the fact that I'll be leaving it alone because we are overextended. So yeah, I guess kind of I'll monitor price throughout the day and see what happens. But at this point, I just, it makes zero sense to me, to be fair. Moving over to EJ, well, here we go. So EJ, it looks as if we could potentially see something on EJ today. Again, we are bullish. We've got very strong bullish momentum. So not only are we, very strong bullish from an intraday and intra-week perspective, as well as, let's say, intra-month perspective, we have also broken a key area. We managed to break a key area yesterday, and we have entered a fresh range, which means that we've got to see the 3 setup variations play out. The first setup variation, as per the trading plan, has played out. We're now looking at the second variation to play out. So let's get to that in terms of, we've got that momentum. Now it comes down to identifying a critical zone. That is the critical zone. That is the zone that we have managed to break. Because the first variation has played out, we now have a fresh high within this range. So we can utilize that as a first target zone. And then it's a simple thing on the lower time frames as a break, retest to continue into equal highs. It looks as if we are pretty much coming back for that retest. So now it just comes down to looking at rejection to the downside to then look at confirmation to, carry bullish. Now, the 4 hour is not as beautiful as what I would like it to be in terms of how the previous 4-hour candle closed, but I'm not going to let that put me off the position or the potential play. I think looking at the current 4-hour, we've got an hour and a half within the current 4-hour candle. Do I see in the next hour and a half this candle pushing into target? No, I do not. Which then means waiting for this 4-hour candle to close would be better, because it would give us a clearer picture of what we could see next. Because if the current 4-hour candle closes as is below that minor, we could see the new 4-hour push to pull back slightly deeper into this region before we then continue. And again, I think what's very important over here is we have got an Asian low. That there's the Asian low. So typically we are looking at a V2, V3 combined, where we'll be looking at a fake out of the Asian low to then get back above and shift to continue with direction. So what I'd then be getting at is a pullback slightly deeper below the Asian low, get back above, retest, and continue. And that there is the position I would be looking at. Right? We've seen this time and time and time again. So that is EJ. Will I be looking to sell? No, I definitely won't. So effectively what's important is this area over here, right? I'm going to just isolate that Asian low there. Just quickly change the color of that. Yeah, there you go. Well, that's not that great. Okay, there you go. So basically, that's what I need to see. I need to see price come below, get back above, and then I'll look at buys. If not, then maybe look at potential buys above that minor over there. Well, I just need to change that back. All right, you'll get what I'm saying. Okay, so if this does not happen, we then look at a break, retest to continue. So again, can set our alerts, add an alert, crossing up, expiration, end of day, and then the alert, the Asian low, add an alert, crossing down. And there you go. Right. Then I just want to, Jaden, you've got a question on the YouTube live. On the hourly yesterday at 3 p.m., would that have served as a confirmation for V1 at 3 p.m. over there? Yeah, pretty much. I don't know how that 4-hour candle looked though. Let's have a look. Yeah. And then we've got gold. Gold's also fairly interesting at the moment. Yeah, so I think again, for those that are in the network, you'll have access to that recording on gold's patterns. I'm actually busy creating an indicator for that. So for those in the network and in the exclusive group, right? Once that indicator is done, it's like nothing fancy, but it'll just help with that, or with gold's patterns at least. I will then share that with you all, because I'll start using that. It just makes it a bit easier. So yeah, we'll kind of wait on gold, I guess, and see what we do throughout the morning, and come back to that for New York. And effectively, yeah, so just to analyze, just for good measure, we are bullish. It's pretty straightforward. We're bullish. Sorry if you can hear the dog moaning in the background. She's trying to get comfortable. So we're bullish. So again, we need to look at potential buys. We've managed to break that key area over there. So it's a simple thing of break, retest, continue. Okay. Moving to the lower time frames, there you'll see that level that we've managed to break above. Also some like crazy movement last night with breaking above that area, and then market opens obviously when price absolutely centered. Anyway, this is a bit tricky at the moment. I think let's have a look at what's. Yeah, I don't really. If this 4 hour candle closes bullish engulf, then maybe we can, see the pullback to then continue. I think the highest probable play at this point would be just a clean break of the high that's been created. But with that being said, what I would like to see price do is just create a bit of a consolidation range this morning during London, so that pre-New York we're able to break one of those areas, and we could then start seeing the that gold's pattern come back in or come into play during New York session, which it often does 9 times out of 10. So I think that's kind of what I need to do, or what we need to do for that matter, is just wait and come back to gold during New York session when volume comes in. But I think that's pretty much that. So we've been through like very detailed and in-depth analysis across the board. I've got my alerts set, so it's pretty straightforward in terms of, once this is all wrapped up, I've kind of finished my analysis now. I know exactly what I need to see. I know what I need to wait for. Once these alerts are triggered, either on GJ, EJ, I then know there's a potential play that might surface for us. But until then, I kind of got to let price do what it needs to do. I need to let price move through the motions because there's not much else I can do at this point. Yeah, does that make sense? Is everybody happy with that? Are we all on the same page? I had a rejection zone on the daily on gold at around 4809.5. 4809.5. So kind of where we are at the moment. Yeah, which is that level there. So I want a price to break above that. Yeah, I agree 100%. But the Jaden, the only thing now is we kind of have a consolidation range that occurs here, right? So we kind of need to see what price does. But like I said, Jaden, I think for all of those in the network can have access to that video, that educational video on gold's patterns. Go and watch that, because we'll more than likely see that take place today. Where we've got a nice consolidation range, we've got an Asian high or a pre-New York high, pre-New York low that we can get below or get back above. And I think this is visualizing, but if we are going to see that pattern unfold, we'll more than likely break back down into this region to then get back above and continue. But that's kind of, I can sit here and say that now, but it might not happen, and that is why it's so important to react according to price. Yeah. You guys on the YouTube live, can you like spam the likes and stuff and try and like grow this? Is the stream like clear? The audio, the visual? It's telling me that the stream's current bit rate is higher than than the recommended bit rate. So I don't really know what that means. But yeah, I'm just going to assume that everything is clear. Yeah. Are there any questions that anybody wants to ask regarding kind of, the analysis, what's been covered. Um, Anything whatsoever. Must say it's been fairly interesting conditions as of late. I don't know how everybody else is feeling, but yeah, it's very interesting. I see crude oil also took a massive, massive dive. Um, so that's best prop firm in Mzansi. To be honest, yeah, I'm not going to recommend any prop firms. I think it's also, my whole viewpoint on the South African industry. Yeah, let's not even go there. So um, the thing is, we're in the financial space, right? We're in the financial industry, which involves money. It involves hard-earned money, and it involves risk. So you've got to be very clever with your decisions, and you've got to do a lot of research. Now, I've been in this space for a very long time. I've been here 8, 9, going on 10 years. I've seen a lot of stuff happen. And I've seen a lot of South African based companies come and go. So if you're going for a brokerage, well, straight up go overseas, Exness. If you're going for a prop, well, who's the most reliable and the biggest in the industry? FTMO, right? So there, there's your answer. Um, yeah, I don't play around with South African based and South African established firms. Um, yeah, I'm gonna say no more, but yeah, just to take that and kind of use it in your decision making process, right? Um, would I classify the waiting for consolidation and then waiting for price to break below and then getting back above? Karaba, are you referring to gold? Are you referring to gold on that question, or with that question at least? I'm assuming that you are. Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. Yeah, for sure. There's a comment. I am loving Exness. Yeah, listen. I mean, they're a top tier brokerage. They really are. And I'm extremely impressed. Uh, it's I've had like zero issues with absolutely nothing. So no, they are top tier. And there's quite a big announcement that will be happening in the next like week or so. So quite excited for that. It's been a long time coming. I'm not going to say anything yet, but yeah, kind of what's been in the pipeline is now kind of it's over the line. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I think there's a lot that is going to change, and a lot of opportunity that will be brought about for all of you, for the community, and the rest. Uh, Happy Adise, yeah. Again, just going back to that whole prop firm question, right? I'm not too sure if you've heard the saying. I don't really know what the correct saying is, to be completely honest with you. But what's it? Goedkoop is duurkoop. right? I think it's something along that line, or along those lines. My Afrikaans is not very good, but rather spend a little bit more knowing that you're getting a legit product and you're not going to stress at the end of the day, than trying to save a bit of money, going the cheaper route, and then you sit with problems. Because then you're gonna have those problems, and you're going to then have to go the correct route and spend more in doing that. So just spend a little bit more the first time around, right? I promise you, at the end of the day, it will save you money. I promise you that. Same, XNest is fantastic, simple to use, and when it comes to withdrawals, even on weekends, no, it really does. Like, it's extremely impressive. You literally get it within like a couple minutes, and it doesn't matter what the size of the withdrawal is either. It's yeah, it's it is great. It is great. I think what is also nice about the brokerage is they've got a massive HQ here in Cape Town. So there's actual real people behind it. If you have any issues, you go straight to those individuals. And I think that's obviously also for those that are in the exclusive group and that have their accounts linked to mine. If you do have any issues, I've got somebody on like speed dial that I can escalate that problem with, or escalate that problem to, which just then gets sorted a lot easier. So I think it's just I'm very impressed. They are an incredible brokerage, and I tested a withdrawal and it took 3 days. Yeah, it kind of depends though. It kind of depends. So you've got to, when you deposit funds, right? When you deposit, you've got to withdraw the amount you deposited first, and that withdrawal goes to your bank card, or to the method in which you used to deposit. That does take a little bit of time, but once that deposit amount has been fully withdrawn into that same method, and you then start processing withdrawals thereafter, those withdrawals are pretty much instant. They happen within a couple minutes. So I think that's maybe what you're referring to in terms of it taking 3 days. A new series, Afrikaans Lessons with Tyron. But that is true. It's the same as clothing. If you buy cheap, you can expect low quality, and vice versa. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Jaden, you say that, I feel like I need to go for Afrikaans lessons just to use TikTok, because it's like TikTok is just Afrikaans people. Like, the entire platform is just Afrikaans. Like, I do not understand anything. It's like I need to go for Afrikaans lessons to be able to use TikTok. It's quite no, you do not want TikTok. I can promise you that. It is like it's the most negative, hateful, I don't even know what. Like, it's such a toxic platform. It really is such a toxic platform. Um, it's like, and that's also part and parcel as to why I'm not extremely active on it, because it's just, yeah, um, it's not a great platform. And you have, from my experience at least, you've just got so many keyboard warriors, like individuals that just don't have proper names, and they hide behind a little TikTok username and some weird profile picture, and then they like spam hate all over the place. It's yeah. Well, most trading influencers now, including those who sell bots, are all Afrikaans, so there's a big market. I swear we are not as stubborn as English people, no offense. Yeah, listen, that's what I've noticed. Like TikTok is predominantly Afrikaans speaking people. There's a massive Afrikaans community on TikTok, and they all seem to be robot sellers. So, yeah. I don't know, like I don't really look at like lang or like Afrikaans versus English, English versus Afrikaans. Like I don't really see the difference. It's just I don't understand Afrikaans very well. I mean, I can speak basic Afrikaans, but I can't have a discussion with you in Afrikaans. And sometimes, well, most of the time, when individuals comment in Afrikaans, I don't understand. So, yeah. Um, I don't know why TikTok is such a negative, toxic platform. Like, I don't know why. It's interesting. It really is interesting. Yeah. We've been here for what, 37 minutes? That is pretty much analysis done and dusted, right? So I guess what we can do is wrap it up here if there are no other questions. Um, Social media in general is so toxic. Even the influencers are just so annoying these days, just flexing shit every video, and the amount of interaction they get is insane. Yeah, I mean, I don't really like to comment on it all, but it's again, I think it for most it's just an escape from reality for individuals that consume the content. It's an escape from their reality, and almost they look at it as like motivation and stuff, which it's far from, because it kind of just sends a lot of individuals into a downward spiral mentally. And then, which is quite bizarre to think about, because half of the flexing is either fake, rented, leased, or borrowed. It's very seldom that the flexing is all fully legit. So it's crazy that flexing of that magnitude and flexing that is not fully legit can affect the onlookers so negatively. It's a bizarre concept. Social media is a very interesting place, I must say. Yeah. uh, I could go on and on and on about it, but you know, I could sit here for hours discussing it. But I think it is what it is, you know. Um, I mean, not all of social media is like that. You do get the handful of individuals that are, you know, legit and transparent and aren't the typical social media marketer or influencer, if I might say. But yeah, interesting. I know you don't trade euro dollar. Yeah, sure. Let's go and have a look at that. Uh, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, like, depending on how the daily candle closes, but if the daily candle can close where it is now, tomorrow to pull back, retest, and continue. But at this point, I'm not really seeing anything significant at the moment. Just a bit of consolidation. I'd kind of want price to pull back a little bit deeper into the gray zone before I would look at any potential play. But we're kind of stalling at the moment, so it's a bit of a tricky one. But I think tomorrow, if you've got the patience to let the current daily candle close for tomorrow's daily candle to then open, pull back to then continue, that would be a great play. A great play. Yeah. But at the moment, I don't really see anything other than consolidation on the lower time frames. Is that But yeah, I think what we can do is, let's wrap this up. If anything surfaces, I will keep you posted. But I really appreciate you taking the time to show up on this morning's live stream. Probably get back to it again tomorrow morning. And otherwise, I hope you. There's this group called that have a group and are associated with. Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and name drop and and give my opinion on anybody. I think many know my standpoint on the industry on its own, but yeah, there's no real, like, I couldn't be bothered to start beef with people, and I'm in my lane, I'll stay in my lane, but it's interesting to know. But yeah. Okay, guys, have a good one. I hope this morning was useful, and we will catch up, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning, possibly. But